on, guys? It's Mike again from Bathhouse TV, and today in the shop we have a 2006 Audi A3. This is a front-wheel drive 2-liter with a DSG transmission. We're going to show you guys how to do a DSG fluid change. So a lot of people are going to highlight what tools you need to do this job, and honestly a lot of it's just basic shop tools. You're going to need different wrenches and sockets. We'll show you those along the way, but this is not just a regular job that you can just perform in a shop without these tools. So this is actually VCDS, BagCom to communicate with Volkswagen Audis. This one's specifically a Rostec, and this is the DSG fluid filler. So you actually fill it upside down from the top. So this is a specific filler with an adapter on the bottom. You're going to need these tools. We're going to show you what parts we use along the way, kind of as we do it as well. And then if we have enough time, we'll be sure to put all this in our description. So be sure to check that out before watching this video. All right, so we're gonna pop the hood, and we already started disconnecting some stuff over here. So first thing I'm gonna do is just remove this. There was an intake cone here. This is all pretty straightforward. We're not gonna get into detail on like how to remove this, where stuff is. We're just gonna get into detail on the DSG fluid change itself. So first we're gonna remove this, and then we'll get back to you. So as you can see, our DSG transmission is actually leaking fluid from the filter. So I'm not sure if it's the filter cap itself or the O-ring around it, but regardless, we're going to be replacing both. So the first thing we're gonna have to do, obviously, to get there is remove the battery, the tray underneath it. These are pretty straightforward to remove. 10 millimeters on the batteries. There's a 13 that we have here, but it looks like it's wrong. And then just various 10s around. So we're just gonna take all this out, and then we'll get back to you when we're at the filter. So after removing the battery and the battery tray, we're going to just get a 24 millimeter socket and remove our filter cap. And we're gonna see now why this was leaking first. And we're going to be replacing everything here. So it looks like it was leaking because it's actually overfilled. So somebody must have done a DSG fluid change in the past and overfilled it. And then you can clearly see that those two fluids are the same. So this is what was leaking. Doesn't seem like there's a crack in here. We're going to replace it regardless because it's not worth putting back in the same stuff, but I don't believe that's supposed to be filled to that degree. So let's get our funnel kind of fed down the back there, and we'll go from there. I'm going to remove the adapter off the funnel, and then we're going to take the hose and feed it down behind the trans so it's kind of there for us to grab when we put the car up. So that should be good enough. Cool. So we're just going to leave everything off. The reason we're going to leave the cap off is so that we can kind of burp the trans when we're draining it from the bottom. All right, so this is the DSG transmission from the bottom. Obviously, it's on the driver's side of the engine. You can see it's covered in fluid and stuff, especially right back here, right where our sway bar is. And that's all from the fluid leaking out from the top and kind of falling down. So we're gonna get this all cleaned up after. If you look directly to the right of the dog bone mount, you'll see this drain plug. It's a 14 millimeter hex. So we're just gonna take our 14 millimeter with a 1/2 inch ratchet and put it off. Only a little bit of fluid should come out right now. Ours is overfilled, so it might be a little bit more than what comes out of yours. Ours appears to be overfilled. I'm not sure. Okay, nope, that's right about right. So inside the drain plug now is an 8 millimeter, and you can see that it's just hand tight. I'm loosening it fully by hand. We're gonna pull this little shaft out. See, it's threaded all the way in. That's exactly how we're gonna put it back in, by hand. And then that's our fluid. So we're just gonna let that fully drain out, and then we'll continue. Once the majority of the fluid is drained out, we can take our filler pipe and put it back in. And again, we're just gonna put this back the way it was, which was just hand tight all the way up. So like right here it stops. That's where I'm gonna remove this. Next we can take our DSG fill adapter, put that on. Like that, grab our hose, put that on, and then we have our drain pan underneath the car still, so just in case there's any kind of overflowing or something, it's going to be there. So let's put the car down, go back up top, and start filling. So since we're having an issue with the amount of fluid, I'm just going to go and evac the filter housing. So I just have my brake bleeder. We're going to suck all this fluid out. Alright, and then we're also going to evac this puddle here. The one thing we want to mention quick is the reason we knew that the DSG filter was leaking on this car is because we obviously replaced the vacuum pump, which was leaking, and then there was a leak coming from here. And this, if you can see, this is double clamped. This transmission cooler line was also leaking. Where the oil is coming from, we use liquid moly, Mologen, so it's a green oil, and it's a UV reactive. So we were going after oil leaks for a while. Little did we know that the DSG fluid's kind of green as well, and under UV looks the same. So once we kind of cleaned everything else up, we started realize, hey, it's actually the filter housing that's leaking. So that's just a little story as to our leak. So if you guys have these little puddles over here like we just did, that is due to this, not because of anything over here. So this is the DSG fluid from Volkswagen and Audi. We have 5 liters, so we're just gonna crack it open. And it's got a little seal. It smells pretty rancid. We're just gonna pick the funnel up, pour these in one by one, and it should find its way into the transmission. So we're just gonna do that 4 more times. So I'm just using a ladder and going way up here. And the reason for doing that is because the straighter and taller, higher up this is, the faster it's just gonna be. All right, so once our last bottle works its way through, we're just gonna set this to the side and put our new filter in, as well as our new cap in our situation, and it has a new O-ring on it. So you can see right there, the air bubble is coming up and the fluid's going down. And right there, we're about done. So we're just gonna move this right here for a second. Gonna leave it connected. I'm gonna grab our new filter and we'll be right back. All right, so we're gonna put our new filter on. Inside the filter, there's a little O-ring here, and I'm just taking some DSG fluid and we're gonna put that on. And we're gonna put it on that little stub mount for it. And then we're gonna take our new cap with our new O-ring. In your case, it's probably just gonna be the O-ring. Again, we're just gonna take some leftover DSG fluid, put it right on this O-ring, close it off, and we're gonna tighten it up. All right, usually these are like something like 25 Newton meters. I don't know if that's the case for the DSG itself, but something right around there is definitely tight enough. Again, you don't want to over tighten this because that will also cause it to crack, so I'm just gonna leave it just like that. So one thing we did is just went over quickly and cleaned the entire top of the transmission with brake parts cleaner, just to clean up first of all, but then second, verify afterwards that whatever was leaking is now repaired. Next, we're gonna leave the funnel here, and we're actually gonna put our battery back in, our intake, and kind of get everything ready for us to go inside and actually start the car. So we put that all back together, and now we're inside the car. I'm going to open VCDS, and we're going to select control module, go to auto trans. We're going to click on measuring blocks, and we're going to go to group 19 and press go. So the trans fluid temperature right now is at 13 degrees Celsius. We want it to get to about 35 degrees Celsius before we go and put the drain plug back in. So what we're going to do first before any of that is start the car with your foot on the brake, and then we're going to put the car in reverse for a few seconds, and then we can go into neutral for a few seconds, and go to drive for a few seconds, and then I'll even go to sport for a few seconds. And basically what we're doing is just getting transmission fluid through the transmission and into the different gear packs. Once you're done with that, you can put the car back in park and just wait for it to heat up. So now that the temperature of the transmission fluid is at 35 degrees Celsius, we can leave everything plugged in. We're gonna leave the car running. Don't turn the car off or all that fluid's gonna drain out. So what we're gonna do now is put the car back up and finish up our filling sequence. So now that we're at temp, what we're gonna do is pull the hose off of the filler adapter. We're gonna let them both drain. And honestly, if you look, you can see little air bubbles here breaking this up, and that pretty much means right now this is pretty much at the level that you want to put your drain plug back on. So we're just going to change the crush washer and take this off. Perfect. Take this guy, put it right back on. Again, that's a new crush washer. Gonna finish emptying this out. All right, so next we're gonna torque this to 45 Newton meters or 33 foot-pounds. All right, now I'm just gonna go quickly and clean this all up with brake clean. So I'm gonna pull the camera back so you can see what it looks like after. All right, so now that it's all clean, we can go shut the car off, pull it outside, and actually go take it for a test drive. All right, with the car down on the ground, I'm gonna reach inside. We're gonna turn the car off. We're gonna grab our funnel and retrieve that. I just have to put the intake scoop back on here. It was off when we started the video, but that's gotta go back on. I gotta put the cover back on underneath, and then we're gonna go drive it and see if it shifts smooth. So at this point, we're driving around the car. Car's shifting fine. It's actually shifting really nice. So we can confirm that changing the fluid and filter definitely helped the car out, and it was done properly. So that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching Bathhouse TV.